Hey, hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and you're here at the Farm D Reads. If I have it in me to leave that in this video, I can do anything. I can achieve anything. Okay. Hi, welcome back. I'm so happy you're here. Today we're gonna do a super late July wrap up. It is what it is. I feel like every video I'm like, I'm so tired from work. Nothing's changed. I still love my job. Everything is good, great, wonderful, grand. I'm just tired, and like, it's really hard to like read at the pace that I do. Like, I just grab, like I finish a book and I grab, I finish a book and I grab. I don't do this angle anymore. I read a lot and then I get sucked up in the book that I'm reading and I don't make the time to film and or edit. Especially it's the editing that I'm just having such a hard time sitting down and doing, especially because I stare at a computer all day long for work and my poor little eyes, they just can't handle it. So I'm gonna try harder in 2025. I feel like that's gonna be my year that I really find my groove on YouTube. But for now, you get what you get and you don't pitch a fit, which is my favorite saying besides bless your heart that I ever learned from living in the South. We're here to talk about books. Nothing but the books. Okay. Great. I read 20 books in the month of July. I own 2, 4, 6. I own half of them and the other half were borrowed either via Libby or my actual library. So I'm going to continue doing these wrap-ups in chronological order. So I will pop the book cover up if I don't own it, but let us get started. So the first book that I finished in the month of July was The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, and I have no idea if I have even started editing the book of the month episode that this is in, but whatever, spoilers if you haven't watched it. I really don't know. I don't even know. Time's just a construct lately. This book is, I believe, the second or third maybe in like a very Abby Jimenez type romance series where there's like multiple different books kind of loosely connected, just Easter eggs of previous characters. But this one is following our main characters Nicole and Carlos, who have a very interesting meet cute at a baseball game when her boyfriend proposes. It's super cringy. They weren't that serious and she says no, and then Carlos kind of like jumps in to rescue her. This was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I read The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory, which is I think the first one maybe in this little series, and I enjoyed that one. I have it up on my shelf. This one I didn't like so much, and it was Carlos. He made a lot of jokes that were supposed to be funny, like haha, I'm just fake gaslighting you, but I was like, it's 2024, like what's even the point? And granted, this one is from 2018, so which is, as someone pointed out to me, 6 years ago now, which is again wild that I have had these books for so long. But anywho, I don't know, I just didn't like the main male character, and I feel like the chemistry just wasn't there. Didn't care for the spice. Banter was meh. Yeah, it was okay. The best part about it was the meet cute, and the female main character Nicole is a pretty tough little lady. What is her job? She's a freelance writer, and we're supposed to believe like through these like kind of cringy jokes that Carlos is making, he's actually motivating her to pursue more ambitious writing goals. I don't buy it. So this was 3 stars. We're not going to dwell on it. We're going to move on. July wasn't my favorite reading month that I've ever had. You will see a theme. There was not a lot of 5-star material, but another book down for the Book of the Month challenge. So 3 stars. And if you are following that series, this is going to be a donate, but it's still here for now. The next book that I read is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, which is the first in a trilogy. The Shades of Magic, I believe, is what the trilogy is called. I did end up reading, I have since, now that I'm filming this in August, very late, I have since finished the trilogy and actually have Fragile Threads of Power, which is the first of like another spin-off trilogy based on the Londons. But anywho, this is the beginning of that world where we meet Kel, we meet his faux brother Reese, and we also meet Lila. These 3 different characters come together in a world where there are 4 Londons: red, white, gray, and black. Kel is able to move through them. He's one of the only people as an Antari that is able to do so. And these 3 characters link up to defeat an evil that crosses from one London into the other where it's not supposed to be. I originally gave this 5 stars, and since after I thought about it for a little bit, I ended up bumping it down to 4 stars. stars. And overall, this is a 4, maybe 4.25 star series for me, but I loved this. I read this super fast. I just thought that it was so cool to think about all these Londons stacked up with each other, the colors being just so descriptive, like red London, the river is like the river, we're supposed to believe it's the River Thames, but it's red and it has a different name. And then in like the gray London, it has a different name and it's like ashy and gross. And I love the characters, especially Lila. I want to be her when I grow up. She's just this badass pirate babe that takes what she wants and she doesn't let anyone take advantage of her, regardless. Like, she's described as like really skinny, really petite, really tiny, and like she just slays, even before we get some reveals about her character that make her even more strong and more badass. So if you are looking for something that's a nice blend of almost like magical realism and fantasy, because London is a real place in our world, but it's taken in a very different direction in this series. If you're looking for a good mix of plot and character driven, this is your series, and I will update soon when I finish Fragile Threads of Power, because I've heard that is really good as well, and I'm very excited. The next book that I read is Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and this is another beginning to a trilogy. I don't know what's wrong with me. And this is a very well-loved YA trilogy that follows two sisters, Scarlett and Donatella, who, if I have to read the name Tella one more time, I'm just gonna absolutely lose it. Something about it, it's like nails on a chalkboard. I don't really know why, but also I don't really like her character. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So this follows the two sisters that are trying to escape their shitty dad. Their mom has since, they think, either disappeared or died. And especially the sister Scarlett wants to be invited to Caraval, which is this like traveling magical circus. So Legend is the ringleader of the circus, and the beginning of the book opens with Scarlett having written a bunch of letters over her life that we're reading to Legend, begging to like be invited. And in this book, her and her sister both end up in the middle of Caraval, and things go from there. I have since finished Legendary as well. I started Finale. I started it and I just wasn't in the mood, so I still have to like pick it back up and finish it. But I really liked books 1 and 2. I originally gave this 4 stars. I think I'm more towards like 3.5 for both books. They are very YA, but I love the writing. I love the magic. I love just like the fun, stupid circus vibes that it gives. The map, I think, is really fun. I wish, honestly, that it had more naming to it, TBH. I think it's really, really fun and cartoony. So, and I love the cover. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm still enjoying my exploration into YA. This is no different, and I am looking forward to picking up Finale. So if you have read this trilogy, let me know in the comments. I know Stephanie Garber has a lot of, is she like the Once Upon a Broken Heart series? A lot of people really like that one. So I'm hoping to finish this trilogy and then move on to some of her other works. This one I don't own. I listened to this on audio via Libby, and this is The Hunter's Gambit by C.L. Piero. This is a thruple-ish vampire story following, I don't remember the other character's name, so whatever. This follow the human girl that we follow is named Kazan, and she is a blacksmith who creates these really beautiful weapons to fight vampires who basically rule their society. She finds herself captured by the vampire society, and she's their queen for 3 days, which is this ritual that they do, and at the end she is going to get sacrificed. But she gets involved with another 2 vampires, a guy and a female. I already forgot their names. Whatever. And we're supposed to follow, or we're supposed to accept that they enter this like 3-way relationship, but it just wasn't there for me. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, but honestly it's more like a 2.5, I think, is what I put on my Instagram wrap up for the month. I just love anything vampires so intensely that this was available, I had to have it. It was not my favorite. 2.5 stars. Forgot, I mean, you guys know that I forget everybody's names after I read the book. Yeah, if you like vampires, you might like this, but it's not as spicy as like the description might lead you to think, and I just did not find the chemistry between our 3 main characters to be there. The ending was horrible. Like, I don't know if this is supposed to be a series, but like, I don't know. I didn't care for anything about this. So if you're looking for something vampire-ish, yeah, this is it. But that's pretty much where it ends. And also the weird sacrifice like queen thing that she's a part of. I don't know what the, like, it's supposed to represent something that had happened in the history of like the vampires previously, but it just seems so silly. Anywho, we're moving on. The next book that I read is You Like It Darker by Stephen King, and this is his most recent release a few months ago, and this is a collection of short stories. Wow, I absolutely loved this. Also, it took me a really long time to realize that it's an alligator on the cover. I just thought it was an island. I typically don't want to read a book of short stories, but lately I have been picking them up, and I am just loving that feeling of getting so much variety in just like one neat package. And this has made me want to go back and read all of Stephen King's short story collections. This was fantastic. I think my favorite one is still Two Talented Bastards, but honestly, all of them were really, really good. There are a couple that I thought were super long without a good enough payoff, but other than that, I highly recommend if you're looking for just more Stephen King anything. This is a really fun collection of short stories by him. They certainly are each darker than the last. I ended up giving this 4 stars. It's feeling more like a 4.25, and I'm looking forward to rereading this next year already. The next book that I read, I listened to on audio via Libby, and it is Red Sky Morning by Jack Carr, which is book 7 of the Terminal List. What to say? This is just another installment in one of my dad thriller series. I absolutely loved this. So this one, what was he up to in this one? Old James Reese. So this one gets a lot more into Alice, which is the super quantum computer that he's the only one that is able to communicate with. It's like this AI machine. And basically Alice involves herself in this like multi-country plot to instigate a war between China and the United States, I think is what it was. And of course, James Reese somehow finds himself in the middle of it and has to save the world again. But I really liked this one. I gave it 4 stars. This is just something about listening to dad thrillers on my commute just makes my day so much better. If you like dad thrillers, I highly recommend Terminal List. I will plug the Orphan X series. That one is still my favorite, and I actually have quite a few more that I'm hoping to get to, but my gosh, who's got the time? The next book that I read is Legendary, which is book 2 to Caraval. I probably should have talked about it with that, but what to say? This picks up where Caraval left off. I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't know how to talk about it without being spoilerish. The girls do find themselves, even though they try not to be, they find themselves in another installment of Caraval again, and it just goes from there. I did enjoy this one. I felt while I was reading it that it felt more YA than book 1, so that's why I felt like Caraval was a 3.5 and this one was just a 3. So the next book that I read is Leave the World Behind. This is by Rumaan Alam. I initially started listening to this via audiobook on Libby and then finished the rest on my phone at work via Kindle, my Kindle app. So this follows a family of 4 that is escaping New York City on vacation, and there's a massive blackout, so they lose cell service and power and electricity. And right before this happens, the owners of the Airbnb that they're staying at knock on the door and ask if they can stay to ride out this blackout. And when I tell you I was so enthralled in this, I couldn't stop listening to it. It's a really short, quick read, and I was just like scrolling on my phone to finish, and then I hated it. I think I ended up, did I give it 3 or 2 stars? I gave it 3 stars for the fact that it entertained me. The ending was so abrupt and unfinished, and I felt like I was left with so many unanswered questions, and I hate that feeling. I like to know what is happening. I'm not the type of person that wants to imagine all the possibilities. Like, I want to know, and this didn't give that to me, so I gave it 3 stars. There is a movie on Netflix, which I can tell you from the 20 minutes of the movie that I actually watched, it's completely different than the book. I have also heard that the movie is even worse than the book, so you didn't hear it from me. But 3 stars, and this was also part of, was this? No, okay. So this was part of the Book of the Month challenge, but I didn't realize when I borrowed it on Libby that I owned it, so it's being removed from the list. but I left it on there for now because I don't want there to be an odd book. Anyway, neither here nor there. The next book that I read is White Horse by Erica T. Worth. This one was part of the Book of the Month July challenge, and this book is following our main character, Carrie, who is a Native American woman living in Denver, Colorado, which I absolutely love. The scenery was literally places that I have been in. It just felt so much more immersive knowing the locations and the places that the characters were going to. Like, I could picture it so easily. But anyway, this follows Carrie, and she receives a bracelet from her cousin that belonged to her since deceased mother, and with it comes the ghost of not only her mom but an additional character that you are not going to want to miss out on. I loved everything about this. I gave it 4 stars. It was very slow burn, very atmospheric. I loved that we were following an indigenous character, again, living in an area that I live in. It's just so fun and fresh to like be able to immerse yourself so heavily in a book's location. I think it just makes me feel like a celebrity. Like, I went there. I know where that is. But yeah, definitely add this to your fall TBR. I absolutely loved Carrie. She's such a no-nonsense character, but still cares so deeply for those that she does care about. And she got some really great character development. Like, to tell a spooky horror story and still have that character development and have these important conversations, there is in this book a decent amount of alluding to / obvious domestic abuse. So if that is a trigger for you, you have been warned. Absolutely love this. 4 stars. Please add it to your fall TBR. I'm very much looking forward to more from this author, and I am keeping this for the Book of the Month challenge followers. The next book that I read is Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. This is also part of the Book of the Month challenge. I actually listened to this completely on audio. I don't think I ever even cracked this, but this is following our main character, Paris Peralta, who has just been arrested for the murder of her husband, Jimmy Conway. Is that his last name? I'm pretty sure, but he's a celebrity comedian, and she finds herself trying to prove her innocence, which is pretty tough since the police found her standing over her dead husband in the bathroom covered in his blood. We start to get some other POVs and timelines threading through with Paris's, and about halfway through, I found it super obvious what the twist was, and I think reflecting back on it, Jennifer Hillier wanted that to happen, and I think that just added so much more impact to the additional twists we got in the second half of the book. I absolutely loved this. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but I'm leaning towards more like a 4.5. I love thrillers, but it's hard for me to rate them more than a 3. They honestly all feel similar and just average to me, but this one, I honestly felt that it broke the mold. The characters were amazing. It's really dark and gritty. Please check your trigger warnings. There are quite a few in this, and I just thought it told a really beautiful story also about 2 people that need to find each other again, and I'm not gonna say any more than that. Please read this. 4.5, and for the Book of the Month followers, we're keeping it. Bro, I need to post my Book of the Month shit first because this is all the books now. You know what? I'm gonna group these together. So the next book that I read is Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, which is book 1 to the Live Ship Traders trilogy, but I also ended up finishing Mad Ship, which is book 2. I am currently reading Ship of Destiny, and I'm just not ready for it to end. While we're here, please, I did finally buy a book, and it is this gently loved but still in pretty good condition hardcover 1st edition copy of Ship of Destiny. I'm just obsessed with the artwork on the original hardcovers, so I'm working on getting them part of my collection but used. We're continuing our underconsumption, buying secondhand vibes on this channel. I'm almost halfway done with this, and again, not ready for it to end. The Live Ship Traders trilogy follows a slew of characters in classic Robin Hobb high fantasy storytelling. One of the main characters that we're following is a young woman named Althea Vestrit, who is the daughter of one of the trader families in Bingtown, which if you remember from the 6 Duchies maps and talking in the Assassin's Apprentice trilogy, this is a mentioned town that is very much known for like a trading post. So we do get Easter eggs from that trilogy in this one, which I just love. The Elderlings realm is like 16 books long. I'm making my way through, but I just can't talk about these books without sitting here for 4 hours and talking about them. Althea is just a phenomenal character. She is so tough, so strong. This trilogy follows more of a seafaring group of characters. Althea is, again, the daughter of a trader, and they have what's called a live ship. And basically, when 3 generations of owners of this live ship pass away, the figurehead, so like that person that's at the front of the ship, comes alive and further helps make the ship like even more indestructible. So these ships are just the best ones for trading because they can make it up a certain river that other ones can't, to the Rainwilds land, where there is lots of magical items that they can bring back to Bingtown. See, I'm already getting too far into it. I'm done. This is a 5-star series, start to finish. I gave Ship of Magic and Mad Ship 5 stars. I don't foresee me not giving Ship of Destiny 5 stars. If you haven't read this series and you're interested in Robin Hobb, it's not necessary, I think, me personally at this point in time, to read them in order, but I would. Again, I will leave a link to the article that I am personally following for reading order. The next trilogy I have up, I believe, is the Tawny Man series, but I'm really enjoying reading them in this order. And if you haven't read Robin Hobb and you're looking for your next high fantasy addiction, look no further, because it's so good. It's so good. Okay. Back to the book of the month challenge spoilers. Sorry, guys. The next book that I read is You Are Not Alone by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This is maybe the 3rd book I believe that I have read by this 2 female author combo, and I think I'm done with them, perhaps. I really liked The Golden Couple. I thought that one was really, really good. I know I gave that one 4 stars. This one just kind of fell flat for me. This follows Shay Miller, who finds herself involved in this really weird game of cat and mouse with this group of girls led by 2 sisters, stemming from the apparent suicide of a young woman that was part of the friend group that Shay witnesses. It just wasn't unhinged women enough for me. I did enjoy the twist at the end. The reveal I thought was good. Cassandra and Jane, the sisters, come across as absolute psychopaths the entire time, just to see that not everything is what it seems. It was okay. I listened to this again mostly on audio. It got really confusing because there's like 7 or 8 or 9 different female main characters, and it's like Beth, Cassandra, Jane, Sarah, Shay, blah blah blah, like just names that I was having a hard time sticking with the characters and their personalities. It's unhinged women-ish, but not, again, just not enough for me. I gave it 3 stars, and I will be unhauling it for the challenge. There's nothing we can do about it. Okay, I swear this is the last. No, it's not. The next book that I read is This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins. This is, again, part of the Book of the Month challenge. This follows our main character, Minnie. She is a baker who finds herself having multiple meet-cutes with this guy, Quinn, and it turns out that they were 2 babies born at the exact same time on New Year's Eve in 1989, making them the first 90s babies. And Quinn's mom stole the name Quinn from Minnie's mom. So Minnie's name ends up being Minnie Cooper, and Quinn gets this like cool name. But they meet in present day and kind of start this like flirty little long over a year romance where it's like a will they won't they for the majority of the book. And then we also get interspersed throughout the current timeline, previous times where it's clear that they have been in the same place at the same time and kind of like not had that connection. So what I will say about this is I gave it 3 stars. I'm telling you, July was not my month, except for Robin Hobb, who slays always and forever, 24/7, 365. This was good for the first half, and then the second half I felt was so cringy and sloggy, and the payoff wasn't there. This is a little to no spice romance, more of like a cutesy, heartfelt, like Hallmark, meaningful type of romance, because there is a lot of characters through Minnie's job. She is a baker for a nonprofit company that she started, donating pies to elderly, which I think is just so sweet. I loved that aspect of it. The characters that we get from that side of the story, her baking career, were awesome. The girl that like had all the connections and everyone thought she was a liar the whole book, and she came through at the end, slay. The banter was really bad. So I had an issue with the banter between Quinn and Minnie, especially in the second half. There's just one scene where he keeps like fighting, feeding her a piece of banana, and the author just talks about the banana more than I want to hear about. I'm tired of hearing myself say the word banana right now. Okay, 3 stars. I'm not mad at it. It's also like, it felt more of like a Christmassy New Year's Eve book because they meet on New Year's Eve and also they're born on New Year's Eve. So I also felt like the timing was kind of off. I do absolutely love the back of the cover. Like, something about all those cute little stars and the colors I really love, but it was 3 stars and I just don't see a reason to let it take up room on my shelf. So it's being unhauled for the book of the month challenge. Ooh, this was a good one. Okay, the next book that I read is Love Letters to a Serial Killer by Tasha Coriel, and I do believe this is her debut novel. I will correct myself on the screen if I'm wrong. This I listened to on audio and I could not stop. It's so funny because a friend of mine on Instagram responded to one of my stories where I posted that I was listening to this and how unhinged it already was and how much I was enjoying it, and she was like, I DNF, and I ate it up. I gave it 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. This one follows our main character, Hannah, who is a young woman that seemingly just is kind of complacent with her life. She has like a pretty average job and she just can't get a guy to stick around. It's all just one night stands after the other. She's in a current relationship with this guy that she feels should be enamored of her, and it's very clear that he just doesn't care. So he breaks up with her, and she then gloms on to a serial killer that is local in her town, and he's just this like charismatic, handsome man named William, who she starts conversing with via letters while he's incarcerated, and it just goes from there. This was so sarcastic, so funny. The audiobook is fantastic. I absolutely love the narrator. I called the twist at the end. I did see that coming. I felt that part was predictable, but other than that, I absolutely loved this. I just could not stop listening. I really think I finished it in like 2 days. Just pretty fast for an audiobook for me. So I recommend. I thought it was great. If you go into it knowing that it is supposed to be just a big laugh, I think that is key. You know, I just love that we can be, I know I say this all the time, I just love that we can like read the same books and respectfully, please and thank you, have different, you know, polarizing opinions. I loved it and gave it 4 stars and my friend DNF'd, you know, I just love that about books so much. Okay, the next book that I read is A Gathering of Shadows, which is book 2 to A Darker Shade of Magic. Again, I should have talked about it, but this one picks up where book 1 leaves off. No spoilers, but this one does include a magical competition, which if that's your vibe, this is your book and trilogy, like I said before. A lot of people say that this one is better than book 1, and while I do agree, I still across the board just feel like it's 4 stars. Gave all 3 books. Actually, book 3 felt more like a 4.5, but overall 4 stars. Did I read book 3 in this month? No, I finished it in August, so we'll talk about it later. Okay, if you're an Ashley Poston fan, I highly recommend you skip past this section because you're not gonna like this. So the next book that I read is a novel love story by Ashley Poston. This is her most recent release. The girlies are all eating it up on BookTube and Instagram. I listened to this on audio, borrowed from Libby. This book follows our main character, Eileen, who goes by Elsie, who is part of this really super close-knit group of friends that are part of a book club. They're just obsessed with this romance series by an author named Rachel something or other. And the series focuses on the town of Aluriton, which is just this picturesque, I'm just picturing like tangled, beautiful, perfect little town nestled in the mountains. There's a waterfall that's magical that people fall in love under. It's just like this glorious place. And Elsie and her friends have a tradition where they meet up at this cabin in New York to reread the books and just get together. They all live in different places, come together over their love of this series, which I did love about this book. This particular year, Elsie finds herself traveling to the cabin alone. Her best friend is on vacation with her soon-to-be fiance, and just everyone ended up being busy, but she is super down in the dumps, still reeling from a broken relationship from 2 years ago, so she goes and finds herself in Aluriton. Okay, let me tell you. The Aloriton book series was better than this book, okay? The snippets that we got. There was no chemistry between her and Anders. So the main male character is Anders. He's the bookshop owner, and the fun part is that he doesn't exist in the books. So she's stuck in the town. She's trying to figure out where he comes from, and also they're falling for each other at the same time. I gave this book 2.5 stars. I don't know what drug is in this book that you guys are just eating up, but it's not working for me. My metabolism is not metabolizing. I don't get it. I gave the previous Ashley Poston book that I read, The Dead Romantics, 3 stars, and I was considering doing a video of like a second chance of authors, but everyone was ranting and raving about this, so I was like, and it was available on Libby ASAP. I was like, let me just give it a try. She's not for me. It's 2.5 stars. There was no chemistry between these characters. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. The next book that I read is The Drowning House by Sherry Priest. This is my first book by this author, and again, I borrowed it via audiobook on Libby. This book follows our 3 main characters, Simon, Leo, and Melissa, and the beginning of the book starts off with a POV of them as children playing on this beach. Simon lives with his grandma on the island, and the other 2 come for the summer. They become lifelong friends. We switch to present day. The grandma, who is the matriarch of the family, Mrs. Culpepper, passes away, and then Simon goes missing. So Leo and Melissa come back as adults to try and figure out where he is and what happened. And when they get there, there is an entire house washed up on the beach behind Mrs. Culpepper's house. I loved the premise of this. Like, how creepy. The ocean to me is the most beautiful, vast, terrifying thing literally on the face of the planet. And to picture that, like, the beach you played at as a kid and then this giant house gets washed up on it is insane to me. I ended up giving this 2 stars though. I did not like the way that it ended. It completely went in a direction that I just wasn't seeing. The majority of my problem with it were Leo and Melissa. So the majority of the book is told through their POVs, and they just suck. They're always bickering. They're just bouncing around from one place to another, asking the same questions, getting the shit scared out of them, and getting nothing done. So there you go. There's a synopsis of the book. I just thought it could have been a lot better than it was. 2 stars. We're moving on. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But one that I do want to talk about. Okay. The next book that I read is A Treacherous Curse by Deanna Rayborn, which is Veronica Speedwell book number 3. I borrowed from the library, so I don't have it anymore. I've returned it. And this one is following Veronica and Stoker on like an Egyptian mummy themed murder mystery, which it was so good. This was my favorite one so far. I have since read book 4, and I'm still thinking that A Treacherous, like, they're all 4 stars, right? I just, honestly, they might all be 5 stars. I don't know. I love this series. Each book follows our same main characters, Veronica and Stoker, who just have the best chemistry and banter, and they in each book find themselves involved in a different murder mystery. They have so much fun and so much love for each other. Their romance is starting to really kind of blossom in these later books, and I'm just loving this series. I have books 5 and 6 on the TBR cart right now, which I'm hoping to get to before the library wants them back, because I don't want to give them back. I don't want to give them back. Okay. Last one, book of the month, look away for part of the challenge if you're following. Okay, the last book that I read in the month of July is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, and I can't believe that it took me so long to read this one, but as we've discussed, I'm back on my Ali Hazelwood grind because her most recent releases have just been out of this world. This one was no different. So this one follows Bee and Levi, who are scientists that are both involved in technology that will help NASA develop better helmet technology. They come from 2 different scientific backgrounds, and they have history because they went to the same college, and Bee has just always known that Levi can't stand her. So kind of have like a rivals to lovers situation. I watched Olivia's most recent video, and she said that if it's not fantasy, they're rivals, and I absolutely agree. I loved this one. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but it's feeling more like a 4.25. I thought the chemistry was really, really great. I love the pink cover. Honestly, I'm back on my STEM grind. The spice was good. I just think it's so cool that Ali Hazelwood, she does the STEM, but she has a paranormal romance now, and her most recent Not in Love is a little bit darker, I would say, overall tone-wise than her more than her older STEM stuff, but she just finds a way to make each story unique in her writing style. Honestly, I was getting sick of the STEM shit over and over and over again, but I feel like I'm being a little bit less critical just because the vibes are there. They really are. And I loved this one. 4.25 stars, definitely keeping it on the shelves for the Book of the Month Challenge followers. But with that, my Taco Bell is here and this video is over. Thank you so much if you watch. Sorry it's so late. Maybe August will be better, but maybe not. You know, we're here for the fun of it. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of the video. Leave me a dog emoji in the comments if you did, because Danny is sitting right here next to me. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like so I can get my channel out to more people. We can talk more about books. Please subscribe so you can watch any new releases if and when they come. Fingers crossed. It's gonna get better, I promise. And have a great whatever wherever you're at, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye!